Hello, my name is Irina Nevzlin, and I'm the chairman of the board of the Museum of the Jewish People, and I'm privileged to have with us here today Mr. Nati Kirsh. Nati, thank you very much for joining us. And I want to go first to your childhood memories, to what was it to grow up in Poch? That was the name of the...
Potchefstroom.
What was it to grow as a Jewish boy there? How did it feel?
It was very, very comfortable life. Anti-Semitism virtually did not exist. The number of Jewish families in the town was 100 families. So we were young Jewish kids. You should realize it was in 1948 when Israel came into being. I was 16, and the build-up towards Israel and the post-war era, there was a very strong Zionist movement in Poch. Habonim was a big Jewish youth movement, and we all had our affiliations there, and the Jewish kids hung around together, and we had a great time. But we were very much integrated into the community, and there were no such things as Jewish schools, of course, and we were just at a general school. And it was a very comfortable and very good environment to grow up in.
Do you remember the day when the State of Israel was established?
The interesting part about that was that almost all the young Jewish men at that stage went to Israel to join the army.
Really?
So I was too young. I was 16, so they certainly wouldn't have taken me. But my wife's brother and all, there must have been 4 or 5 guys who were eligible who went, and one chap who was a bit older, who was an ex-RAF pilot, he went, and he actually got killed during the war. But there was very huge pro-Israel and pro-Jewish sentiment.
You feel yourself very proud to be Jewish?
I think the achievement of the Jews in the world is astonishing. And one of the big motivations for doing this Jewish museum for the 21st century is to get away from the notion that one reads so often in the press, that the Jews take from a community, that the Jews exploit a community, the Jews get rich at the cost of the community, where the truth of the matter is the other way around. The Jews make the community, the Jews contribute to the community, the Jews contribute to the well-being of the world. The contribution is wildly out of proportion to the numbers, and that they're successful, yes, and they're successful because they contribute and they create. And so it's important to be able to show people the contribution that the Jews have made in every country. So when somebody comes into the Jewish Museum in London, they just say, wow. And this will be all over the world. And of course, the advantage of digitization is that you can go into details. So for instance, if you want to know we'll go to ICI, which is the biggest chemical company in England, founded by Jews. You go to Shell, which is the biggest petrol company, founded by Jews, and ask them to give the history of their company, which you will not show as a showpiece in the Jewish Museum, but it will be there, so that anybody wants to press a button and you have instant information. And so this is the wonderful thing of modern technology.
Nati, what do you think kept the Jewish people together for so long? And because you look at us, and we have so many different people. You have religious, non-religious. Within religious, you have so many strands. You have different languages, but there's something that keeps us together.
Well, I'm a great believer in passing opinions on matters that I understand, and that is one that I do not understand, so you're not going to get much of an opinion from me. But nevertheless, there's a camaraderie that you you build up an understanding, and I guess anti-Semitism plays a part in it to an extent. And I would be very loath to give you any real opinions, because I really don't know enough about it.
You would agree that we are together. I mean, we're still together as a family wherever you go. That's the basis for conversation. That's the basis for trust. And
certainly there's a camaraderie, there's a togetherness amongst Jewish people that is quite unique.
How do you see yourself religion-wise? Where do you see yourself?
I come from a very widespread family. When I say widespread, from ultra-Orthodox to not so Orthodox. So in my own home, historically, we've kept kosher, and we have kosher meat. Are we religious? No. Do I lay tefillin? No. Do I go to shul? Seldom. But the rest of my family, I have extreme orthodoxy on the Lubavitcher side from my older brother, davening most of his life. My sister married a rabbi who started the first yeshiva college in South Africa, an American. My younger brother is moderately more religious than I am, but certainly not in the same school as the other lot. So we cover the entire spectrum in our family, from ultra-Orthodox to go to shul maybe.
Much like all the Jewish people around the world.
Like
you have the whole mosaic.
We have a huge mosaic.
Do you remember your first tzedakah, your first philanthropic project?
The question of philanthropy is a difficult question to answer. Philanthropy for me has never been difficult, because I've never given away anything that will deprive me of anything. So am I truly a great philanthropist? No. Do I give away quite a lot of money? And do I have quite a lot of projects that are philanthropic? Yes. Because I think that if you're fortunate enough to be able to give, that is one of the mitzvahs, if I can put it, that without being religious gives me a lot of satisfaction. My background is I inherited 1,200 pounds when my father died, and I received that when I was 21. And that gave me the startup money that enabled me to start my business career. And so I'm very aware of what help, when one receives it, can do for one's life. So I like to give where I help people to become self-sustaining and look after themselves. And that is where our main thrust lies. Nevertheless, there are the blind and the cripples and this and that and the next thing, which you have no choice but to give. But my main thrust in philanthropy is fishing rods rather than fish. Historically, I spent a great number of years, 10 years of my life in Swaziland, and although I grew up in Potch, I left at a pretty young age and started my own business in Swaziland and lived there for 10 years and became very much involved in the development of that country, and in two particular areas, the financing of small business startups and also computer education in high schools. And I've migrated those two programs to Israel. The one is startup small businesses and financing the startup of small businesses, and I have a fund there called the Natan Fund, and we have financed 700 startups in Israel, and in Swaziland we financed 14,000, but over a 15-year period. In Swaziland we have a 70% success rate. In Israel we have 85% success rate.
85%
success.
Wow.
It's small businesses, Jews, Arabs, Druze, all kinds, and really it's not all just done by myself. We work together with Ort, and not only small businesses, but in the education side, on the computer side, we are very active in putting computers into yeshivot, because we tell the yeshivas that you cannot take children in at the age of 6 and send them out at the age of 16 illiterate. And if you're not computer literate in today's world, you are illiterate. You can't get jobs, and all you're doing is you're creating an underclass of religious kids. So we've had a pretty fair amount of success where people said they would never get computers into the yeshivot. We're getting computers in and computer classes in, and we're having train the teachers to teach the kids on the computers. So it's a good thing.
You do a lot of work in philanthropy in women empowerment, which is not a very usual thing.
It's long fishing rods. It's just fishing rods.
But for women?
For anybody. It's not specifically aimed at women. It is, if women qualify, they get. And they do qualify very often, particularly in an African society. Women are really doers.
The reason that we are doing the museum, we see ourselves as a platform.
Absolutely.
Because we actually have an ability to tell the story of the world Jewish achievements.
Somebody has to be the repository. It's impossible for any individual person or group of people to tell the story properly. The only way it can be told properly is to offload the responsibility of telling the story in their own countries to people in those countries. The biggest challenge, of course, is the United States, because the United States, has got a huge Jewish population, and it's a huge country. And the contribution of the Jews in New York is a story on its own, on the West Coast is a story on its own, in Chicago is a story on its own. So when we have enthusiastic amateurs who are anxious to get the story across for their own community, and all will be fed in to yourselves. You will have so many people and working to put it together, each in their own community, whether it's in Bangkok or whether it's in Sydney or Tehran, for that matter. There is a huge story to be told around the world.
Nate, I'll ask a question which I don't think anyone has an answer to, but I want your view on that. There are people who would claim that the future of Jewish people is uncertain, that the future of Israel is uncertain. There is a lot of fear around that topic. What do you think?
Well, the mere fact that there is fear gives you strength. So if you have no enemies, there's no necessity to have strength. But when you have enemies, you have strength. And to say that Israel is not threatened is wrong. It's been threatened from the day it started. In 1948, 5 Arab armies walked into Israel and would have obliterated the Jews if they'd been able to. The objective of many, not all, of the Arab states around Israel is to destroy Israel. They say it openly. So, and this is what makes Israel strong, because it's got no choice but to be strong. The Jewish people, in my opinion, have never been in a stronger position as a people. They have proven themselves all over the world, and they're proud to be Jews. They are not subservient. So the Jews around the world, I would hope, is a somewhat better place than it was before, and it's certainly the Jews are in a better position, I believe, than they've ever been in history.
So you're optimistic, as we are.
Well, I'm too old to be pessimistic.
Nate, thank you very much for your time. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.